Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy my stories.
It started with that ridiculous notice, the one about removing all cameras, inside and out. Most of us had installed those things because of the string of break-ins that had hit the neighborhood in the past year. Cars were getting rifled through, packages stolen. Someone even had their back door kicked in while they were on vacation. So yeah, a lot of us had doorbell cams, floodlight cams. Some people even put small ones in their front windows just to keep an eye on things. Then the HOA decides cameras are a threat to the visual appeal and collective harmony of the neighborhood. That was the phrase. They weren't just talking about outside cameras either. The notice said, and I swear I read it 5 times to be sure, no cameras inside the homes that could face a window or entry point. Like they had the right to dictate what we did in our own damn living rooms. I went to see Mr. Thompson, the president of the board, to ask what the hell they were thinking. He met me on his porch with that fake politician's smile, all calm and smug. "We've had complaints," he said. "Some residents feel surveilled in their own yards. It's about respecting privacy." Whose privacy? The people stealing bikes in the middle of the night? He just smiled and said, "We all have to make sacrifices for the greater good." Then he shut the door in my face. That same week another notice showed up. Every resident had to notify the HOA if they were going to be away from home for more than 2 days. Apparently it was part of a community safety initiative. Yeah, nothing says safety like handing over your vacation schedule to a bunch of wannabe dictators. I talked to my neighbor Marcy about it. She's a single mom with 2 boys and the kind of person who follows the rules down to the letter. Even she was getting uncomfortable. "You think they're compiling a list?" she asked. "Like who's gone when, so someone can get in their house?" "You mean like them?" I asked, half joking. She didn't laugh. "I'm not kidding," she said. "Something's off." She wasn't wrong. Around that time another neighbor, Jerry, an older guy who'd been here 20 years, had his entire front yard dug up by the HOA, said his grass didn't meet the new drought standards. They replaced it with fake turf without his permission and billed him $4,000 for the job. When he refused to pay, they started fining him weekly. That's when I started looking into the bylaws. And guess what? The HOA has no control over our water usage. That's city jurisdiction. They can suggest landscaping guidelines, sure, but not force synthetic turf or penalize for regular lawn care. I brought it up at the next meeting, or I tried to, but when I showed up the room was locked. A piece of printer paper was taped to the door. "Board meeting in closed session. Residents will be updated in monthly bulletin." No bulletin came. Then the dues went up by a lot. Mine jumped 28% overnight. Same for everyone else. No explanation, no breakdown, just a new invoice and a due date. People started getting fined for the dumbest things. Mailboxes slightly crooked, porch chairs in the wrong color, garden gnomes suddenly outlawed. And when people protested, liens started showing up on properties. Real ones. They were trying to drive people out. When I got my lien notice, supposedly for late dues I'd already paid, I'd had enough. I filed a formal dispute, got no response. That's when I bought a cheap recorder and snuck it into the rec center where they held meetings. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. I just knew something was off. A week later I went back to collect it. Nobody noticed. The battery had barely held on, but I got almost 90 minutes of audio. And what I heard made my stomach twist. They were laughing, actually laughing, talking about which homes they were targeting next. One of the board members, I think it was Donna from Lot 14, said, "We've got maybe 6 months before we can get them all rented. Once that happens, we vote out the bylaws and we're golden, rented." They were forcing people out, scooping up foreclosed homes and converting them to rentals under an LLC one of them had set up. Thompson chimed in, saying, "The pool and courts are great leverage. Nobody wants to pay for what they can't use. We stall repairs another quarter, push dues again, they'll fold. The key," Donna said, "is not letting anyone see the financials. If they can't prove fraud, we're fine." And then the part that really made my skin crawl. "If someone pushes too hard," Thompson said, "we have ways of dealing with that. Send them a few violation letters. Flag them for harassment. Get the others to turn on them. People like to stay on the board's good side." I didn't sleep that night. I paced my kitchen like an inmate listening to the recording over and over. This wasn't mismanagement. This was an organized hostile takeover of a whole neighborhood. Marcy came over the next day. I played it for her. Her mouth fell open. "You need to go public with this," she said. "They'll crush me." You heard them. They know how to get people out. "Then we do it together," she said. "We play their game, quietly, carefully. And when the time's right, we burn it all down." We started collecting data. Photos of the unrenovated pool, screenshots of billing discrepancies, anonymous surveys from neighbors. We were building a case, but we had to move slow. People were scared. One couple who tried to push back got served with a cease and desist for defamation. I got a warning letter for disorderly conduct, supposedly because I argued with a board member in public. Never happened. But now I had a paper trail of harassment. Everything felt like it was teetering. More homes went up for sale, many below market. And then, like clockwork, they'd be bought by the same realty company. No signs, no bidding wars, just scooped up and turned into rentals with lease terms nobody had ever seen before. We were being replaced, methodically, quietly, and legally, unless someone stopped it. By the end of that month, 6 more families had left. Good people, too. The Johnsons, who hosted the neighborhood BBQs every summer. The Nguyen's, who always decorated their home for every holiday like it was a competition. And the Sandovals, who left a sign taped to their front window, "Good luck, you'll need it." It was like a ghost was sweeping through our community, replacing history and life with cold, impersonal rentals. Cars with out-of-state plates started showing up, weeds grew tall around vacant homes, the tennis courts still had chains across the gates, the park benches were splintered and covered in bird crap, and still dues kept rising. I called a meeting at my house, just a few of us. Marcy, old man Jerry, Tanya from across the way, and a couple others who hadn't been scared off yet. We sat in my garage with lawn chairs and beer, lights off, door halfway closed like we were hiding from something. And maybe we were. "We can't just let this go on," I said, slapping down a stack of printouts. "I've got screenshots, recordings, copies of liens that don't match the payment records. They're laundering HOA money through their own shell company." Jerry cracked his knuckles. "You want to take them to court? Might as well set your wallet on fire. They'll drain you in paperwork before a judge even sees the case. We need a different kind of exposure," Marcy said. "Public. Loud, messy. If we get enough attention, we force an investigation. We can't do this from inside the neighborhood alone." Tanya leaned in. "What about the local news? We send them everything." Anonymous tip. "Let them do the digging." I considered it. "If we do that, we have to cover our asses. The board retaliates hard. We all saw what they did to the Kellermans." Tanya nodded. "They made up 3 violations in a week. Lawn color, trash cans left out an hour late, and inadequate curtain uniformity. I didn't even know that was a thing." Marcy sipped her beer. "It wasn't, until they invented it. We made a pact that night. Share everything. Back up everything. Stick to facts. And keep it quiet until we were ready." Over the next few weeks, we dug in deep. Marcy found public records showing a sudden spike in LLC purchases in our neighborhood, all traced back to a firm in another state. I traced it back further and discovered the registered agent for that LLC was none other than Thompson's cousin. Jerry managed to pull old financial reports before they started locking them up. Turns out, in one quarter, over $70,000 was listed as recreation improvements, with 0 corresponding renovations to show for it. But the real nail came when Tanya, who worked part-time at the city records office, found a hidden permit request to convert part of the community park into private leasing offices. Filed under the same LLC, they weren't just replacing homeowners. They were turning the entire neighborhood into a corporate rental compound. All under our noses. One night, I was out walking my dog when I saw flashlights near the old pool area. 2 figures moving around the back gate. I crept closer and snapped a photo. One of them turned. Donna. The other was a contractor. They were laying down fresh rebar, but it was hidden under a tarp. Not pool repairs. Something else, something private. Next morning, I found a letter taped to my door. No envelope. No stamp. Just typed and printed. "You are in violation of HOA Regulation 9.6. Unauthorized surveillance and harassment. Cease all unlawful activity or face formal action." They knew. I called Marcy. She'd gotten the same note. So had Jerry, Tanya too. That same day, a truck pulled up and started taking pictures of our homes. Real estate signs appeared across from me. They weren't even pretending anymore. We hit send. Everything we had, we dumped in a giant Google Drive and sent it to every local news outlet, the city council, even some watchdog forums. We waited, refreshing inboxes, checking voicemails. Then the retaliation came. I got fined for a diseased tree that didn't exist. Marcy's fence was deemed structurally unsound. Carrie's car was towed for being non-operational, even though it ran perfectly fine. Neighbors stopped waving. Some avoided eye contact entirely. Word was out. We were the troublemakers now. The board's new tactic was isolation. Divide, embarrass, humiliate. And then boom. One of the reporters called. She wanted to meet, not by phone, not at her office. She picked a diner halfway across town and told me to come alone. She slid into the booth like she was dodging surveillance. "This is bigger than your neighborhood," she said, flipping open a laptop. We've tracked similar HOA activity in 4 other communities, all tied to the same management firm. They drive down property value, push out owners, buy low, rent high. They profit and everyone else bleeds. I stared at the screen. Names, dates, photos, same patterns, same language in notices, same shell LLCs. You going to run it? I asked. Not yet. I need hard proof, paper trails, whistleblowers. If we get that, it goes national, but you have to be careful. These people play dirty. Dirty didn't even begin to cover it. A week later, someone tried to break into my garage. I scared them off, but they took my trash can. Yeah, my trash can. Marcy said that means they were looking for documents. Discarded evidence. We doubled up on everything. Encrypted drives, paper backups hidden in other people's houses. Passwords changed daily. This had become a war. Not just for our homes, but for our lives as we knew them. The board posted a new rule banning unauthorized gatherings in garages or driveways. Tanya got fined for having her brother over for lunch. I started seeing unfamiliar cars parked near my home, just sitting there with tinted windows. Marcy came by in tears one night. They were going after her kids now. Claimed their basketball hoop was a code violation. Said repeated offenses could impact residency eligibility. They want me gone, she said. They want us all gone, I nodded. Then we don't go quietly. We go loud, we go big. We blow it up from the inside. We needed someone on the board, someone who could feed us information. And we found him. Henry, a soft-spoken retired accountant who joined the board thinking he could help. They ignored him at every turn, treated him like wallpaper. But Henry noticed everything. He started leaking minutes, fake budgets, meeting agendas, internal emails with time-stamped notes about who to target next. We were ready. It started with silence, not the calm kind, the kind before a tornado hits. No more notices, no more fines, no suspicious visits or late-night knocks. The board vanished behind email addresses that bounced back and a hotline that went straight to voicemail. Donna stopped showing up to the rec center. Thompson's Tesla disappeared. For 3 days, the HOA acted like it had ceased to exist. We knew better. Kevin kept watch. They're lawyering up, he muttered over a beer in my garage. Waiting for things to cool down. They think this'll blow over. It didn't. On day 4, the HOA struck back, not with notices but with something worse, certified letters. One for me, one for Marcy, one for Kevin. Official envelopes with our names spelled perfectly. Inside were cease and desist orders, accusations of harassment, slander, incitement. They cited HOA bylaws, privacy statutes, and threatened lawsuits for damages in excess of $100,000. I laughed when I read it. Then I realized something. They weren't bluffing. They were cornered. This was war. We went dark again. Shut off phones. No more emails. Kevin burned the old burner phones in a metal bucket behind his shed. Marcy pulled her car into the garage and didn't leave for a week. I stopped answering my door altogether. People started knocking again, quietly, cautiously, asking for updates. We told them the truth. They're coming for us now. And then, like roaches when the lights come on, the board members started crawling out. Thompson filed a restraining order against Kevin, citing menacing behavior and intimidation. Donna petitioned the HOA to remove Marcy's voting rights, claiming she threatened board unity. I got hit with a formal accusation of mail tampering, a federal charge, because I'd asked my mail carrier a question in public. But that just fueled the fire. The neighborhood turned into a pressure cooker. Residents started demanding an emergency election. Someone plastered copies of our leaked video transcripts on street poles. A local podcast picked up the story, titled it Suburban Mafia. The city took notice, then it happened. Kevin vanished. No one saw him for 3 days. He wasn't answering messages, not even on our secure server. His house was dark, truck gone. On day 4 he returned, face bruised, lip split. They followed me, he said. 2 of them, board thugs or maybe hired. No plates on the car. They blocked me in behind the hardware store, said to stop digging, said they'd make me disappear next time. Marcy cried when she saw him. I wanted to burn the rec center to the ground, but instead we rallied. We handed over every file, every photo, every audio clip to a local investigative journalist named Celeste. She didn't blink when we told her about the fake fines, the Shell LLC, the threats. She'd done exposés on crooked cops and county contractors. Her words, these people are small-time bullies with suits. Let's end this. She published a piece titled It, dropped on a Friday. By Monday, the county attorney announced an investigation. Thompson resigned. Donna fled the state, but the HOA, still intact, still collecting dues, still issuing fines. And every time I hear the mailbox click or see a strange car idling at the corner, I wonder how long we have before they rebuild. Stronger, smarter, more careful. We won the battle. But the war is only beginning. Titled it, Democracy Dies in Dues. Not subtle, but it spread fast. Suddenly, every neighbor who'd been too afraid to speak up before was sending screenshots, testimonies, letters they'd gotten months ago but never talked about. It was a flood. The HOA hotline shut down completely, and then came the biggest blow: a subpoena. Someone, maybe Celeste, maybe one of the pissed-off homeowners, had gone to the state attorney general's office. Within 2 weeks, the board got served with a subpoena for financial records, voting logs, communication logs, and a full audit of every fine collected in the last 18 months. It was beautiful. Thompson tried to play it off in a shaky statement emailed to residents, claimed it was just a routine compliance review and nothing to worry about. But we knew better, and so did the city. Code enforcement suddenly showed up out of nowhere. They walked straight past the pool gate with clipboards, snapping pictures of crumbling concrete, exposed rebar, and that one collapsed bench that had been half sunk in the grass for 2 years. Fire inspectors followed, looking into expired alarms in the rec center, blocked exits, and mold in a public building. At the same time, a separate team hit the HOA's office, if you could call it that, just a rented suite above a vape shop in the strip mall down the road. They left with 3 boxes of documents and a laptop. Donna was photographed trying to sneak out the back stairwell with a gym bag and a coffee maker. That night, the neighborhood was buzzing. People were outside for once, talking, comparing notes, some even hugging. I'd never seen the place feel more alive. It was like someone opened the windows on a house that had been shut up for too long. But it wasn't over. We got a letter 2 days later. An emergency motion had been filed by the board to suspend all community meetings indefinitely for safety. They blamed the coordinated misinformation campaign and potential threats to volunteer board members. The letter ended with a single chilling line. Kevin laughed so hard he choked on his sandwich. "You're already hiding behind a lawyer, man. You're intimidated." But what scared me wasn't the letter. It was what came next. Someone broke into Marcy's garage. They didn't steal anything. Nothing valuable was taken, nothing broken. Just open boxes, rifled through papers, her boy's sports gear dumped in a heap. The only thing missing was the notebook she kept, the one we used to track vote patterns and document everything. Gone. No signs of forced entry. "Inside job," she whispered to me, hands shaking. And then, 2 days later, Jerry's tires got slashed. All 4, no witnesses, no footage. He'd taken his cameras down months ago under pressure. Cops wrote a report and left. And Sarah, she got a letter from her mortgage lender. Someone had anonymously reported her house as a short-term rental. Her loan forbids it. She had to spend hours entangling the mess with paperwork and calls, all that just to clear her name from a lie. This was the death rattle of the HOA. They weren't protecting anything anymore. They were lashing out, one final act of desperation. That weekend I saw Thompson in person for the first time in weeks. He was getting out of his car, looking older, hunched, twitchy. I watched him from my driveway. He paused, stared back at me, and then did something I'll never forget. He smiled, not that politician's smile, but something darker. The kind of smile someone gives you when they know a secret you don't. He didn't wave. He didn't say a word. He just walked inside, slow and confident, like he still believed he had the upper hand. But he didn't. The Attorney General's team filed a motion to freeze the HOA's accounts. An emergency audit began. Celeste released a 3rd story titled "Homeowners Held Hostage." The accompanying photo was of Jerry's destroyed lawn and Marcy's ransacked garage. And finally, someone leaked the full audio, the one I'd recorded in the rec center. All 90 minutes, unedited. The news ran with it. It hit social media, local outlets, Reddit. People outside the neighborhood started calling us the suburb of snakes. It was humiliating and vindicating all at once. By the end of the month, 3 board members had resigned. The LLC that owned 5 rental properties was suspended by the Secretary of State. A judge temporarily placed the HOA under outside management while investigations continued. It wasn't justice, not yet, but it was a start, and as for me, I didn't feel safe, not really. Every creak at night still made me flinch. I'd leave a light on in the hallway and keep a baseball bat by the door. But I wasn't scared of them anymore, because now they were scared of us. I'm really moved by how the neighbors banded together to fight back. The burner emails, pseudonyms, secret meetings, all tactics to stay safe while exposing the HOA's wrongdoing, show real bravery in the face of intimidation. The story captures the feeling of isolation and fear perfectly, but also the strength that comes from solidarity. The detail about the selective enforcement, like fines for trash bins but not for loud parties by the board's own family, really exposes the hypocrisy and injustice. Bringing in an investigative journalist was a smart move and felt like a turning point. It's impressive how they documented everything offline to avoid digital snooping. shows how paranoid and careful they had to be. The whole dynamic between the residents and the HOA reads like a gripping thriller, but sadly, it's a reality for many. This makes me think twice about the unchecked power many HOAs wield in communities across the country. The part with the secret audio recording was absolutely chilling. That moment where the narrator listens to the board members laughing about targeting homes and renting them out felt like something straight out of a crime novel. The casual way they talk about fraud, stalling repairs, and turning neighbors into tenants is horrifying. It really underscores how this wasn't just poor management or bad neighbors, but a cold, calculated takeover designed to push people out and profit off their loss. The line about using the pool and courts as leverage was particularly brutal. It's like they weaponized community amenities to break down resistance. And the threats about sending violation letters and getting neighbors to turn on them reveal a cruel strategy to isolate and intimidate anyone who dares to push back. That audio was the story's emotional and moral core, showing the human cost of corruption and greed. What struck me most was the slow escalation from annoying HOA rules to outright harassment and legal warfare, the gradual buildup, from banning cameras and forcing residents to report when they're out of town, to surprise fines and property liens, felt realistic and deeply unsettling. It shows how something that might start as a nuisance can spiral into something truly oppressive. The way the board uses the law and bylaws selectively, then hides financials to avoid accountability, mirrors tactics used by corrupt institutions everywhere. I also felt the psychological toll through the narrator's eyes. The sleepless nights, the paranoia, the fear of retaliation, the isolation when phones are cut off and people stop answering doors. Kevin's disappearance and the violent threat he faced brought home the stakes of this conflict. This isn't just about HOA drama. It's about power and control breaking down community trust and safety. The story captures that erosion of trust brilliantly, leaving readers uneasy about how easily normal people can become targets of systems they helped create. It's a sobering reminder that sometimes neighbors can turn into enemies when money and power get involved.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.